Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Prodigy. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, aka Caliban, and fine except for low serotonin has been my diagnosis for the last year or two. Joining me on the show as usual is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you.
It is great to have you back. It's great to talk to you again. What's been going on since the last 6 days that we've talked?
We have our little check-in every week, obviously.
Yes.
And not too much. I've just settling in now that the holidays are over.
Yeah.
Obviously, I work for a university, so the start of term is coming up pretty soon, which means that I'm very busy, but it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that, the holidays is supposed to be restful, but it's not really. It's like you have to do Christmas stuff, they have to do New Year's stuff, and you're running around, you're shopping, you're doing all kinds of things. And then the week after the holidays, you either got it off or most people have to go back to work, and, you're tired. And you're like, I just had my vacation, but now I'm all tired. So just modern
that
first
is exactly,
world problems.
Yeah, well, and that's right. I'm still getting used to having PTO. I have an adult job, and I'm like, they're paying me to just kick rocks right now. Are you
That's
joking?
How it works. Yeah, that's how it should work.
I would not exactly. I would not describe the 2 weeks I had off as restful.
Yeah.
And then I came home and it was like, okay, fridge is empty. I got laundry to do. Yep. But very happy to have a Star Trek Prodigy back.
Yeah. New Year's Day, I'm just wondering. And then January 2nd, I'm like, why am I so tired? And it's like, because I didn't rest over the holidays. I did holiday things, of course. Well, let's get into it. Yeah, we're back with another episode of Star Trek Prodigy. First, though, we like to talk about the news at the top of the show, and we've got some news. We got some breaking and kind of depressing news. The production on Star Trek Picard has been paused after more than 50 crew members and cast have tested positive for COVID-19.
Oh.
It's a really big production from what I understand. It's more than 450 staffers that work on it in one capacity or another. And so because this is their first day back after the holiday break, of course, and 50 people tested positive for COVID-19. Patrick Stewart was not among them, from what I understood, according to Deadline. And so they will have to shut down production, at least for now. They are expected to open again or to go back into production on Friday if everything works out okay. And this was crew members all across the production. The typical thing in Hollywood now is they have zones, like Zone A, Zone B, C for cast are A, direct crew is B, and on down. But people in Zone A, B, whatever, all over, people have COVID, which is that's just reflective of what's going on in the country right now. But it's a little depressing to hear, and it's hard to know how it will affect, if it will affect, the premiere of Picard, which is expected, of course, sometime in February or sometime this spring.
Well, I respect them for just shutting it down. You know what I mean? I feel like lots of places right now are at this point where it's like, oh, it's just COVID, and now the thing is 5 days. It's like, nobody, don't stop. Just keep working. Mm-hmm. So I would much rather them shut down production. Although it is a little, how much of production are they doing here when they're supposed to premiere next month?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming that the earlier episodes are done. I don't know what they're working on, but of course, with reshoots, that's probably at the point that they'd be at this point. You never really know what they need to do. So I'm hoping that if they, and we don't have confirmed dates, but if the plan is to kind of slot them in the way they've slotted Discovery and Prodigy together, that doesn't get interrupted. And their plans don't get derailed. But honestly, the most important thing is that everybody is healthy and everybody gets over what they've got.
Yeah, that's crazy. They had such a huge outbreak.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I've heard that it's one of the biggest shows, shooting right now.
Yeah, that's like, oh, especially like you said, across all of the zones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
So yeah, we'll have to see what happens with that. Of course, they've got a third season that they are working on and will be producing at some point eventually as well. So best wishes to the cast and crew of Star Trek Picard. And it's just another sign that we all have to kind of take our situation seriously. I mean, I'm sure this is happening on other shows. I think NCIS had to shut down as well, and so you're probably going to see this happening with a couple different shows and productions across Hollywood. But yeah, it's just a different world that we live in. New year, same world.
yeah, I guess I mean, I everybody get their boosters. Everybody
Yeah,
wear a good mask.
yeah, yeah. I wonder how. So like, I don't think too much about this kind of stuff, but like, I wonder how they have had to change scripts or maybe do things differently. I think I was listening to another podcast and somebody remarked about a storyline between Book and Michael and how like, oh, there's this moment that would have been great for a kiss, but they didn't kiss because they had COVID, regulations on set. And apparently the scene last week on Discovery where they were all in the room talking about Zora and, trying to figure out what to do with her. And there's like 6 characters. Like, they weren't all in the same room together. Like that was shot like, with one camera angle was like 2 people by themselves and another was, and they just cut it all together. And I have to say that, sometimes I look for that stuff, but I wasn't even really thinking about that. I was just thinking about what's going on in the scene. So I think they are adapting well to the restrictions that are in place, but it's, I wonder how it's affected shows.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like sometimes you can really tell when people aren't in the same room
Yeah.
in a movie or a TV show, and
Yeah.
I had no sense of that. So clearly they're doing a very good job. I mean, it's whatever they have to do, and clearly they're still getting the like performance out of the actors,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. It's
they
got to
definitely
be
fooled me.
difficult
So
for them. Yeah. Yeah. But if you're on a kissy show, you're in trouble. Maybe just hold hands for a while so we get everybody back to where they're supposed to be. But we don't have to worry about that too much on Picard, and we definitely don't have to worry about that on Prodigy, where everybody is a cartoon. And we have just seen the 6th episode of this first season of Star Trek Prodigy. It's an episode called Kobayashi, and we're here to talk all about it. But first, as always, a warning, we are setting course for the spoiler zone, listeners. So if you haven't seen the episode, be careful. Spoilers are incoming. The official synopsis for Kobayashi is, as Gwyn struggles to find her role aboard the USS Protostar, Dal tests his leadership skills in the newly discovered holodeck. This episode is written by Aaron J. Waltke and directed by Alan Wan. There is no star date given for the episode, but it takes place literally directly after the last episode, Terra Firma, which was set in 2383. Here are some facts about the episode. This episode was, of course, dedicated to the memories of Rene Aubergenois, James Doohan, and Leonard Nimoy, whose voices and likenesses all appear in the show, thanks to archived audio taken from a number of episodes of both TOS, the films, DS9, and TNG, and we won't go through all of them, of course, but we have the characters of Spock and Odo and Scotty are all there. Of course, Nichelle Nichols also appears through archived audio in the episode as Uhura. And the episode features, of course, the voice of Gates McFadden as holographic Beverly Crusher. McFadden returns to the role after nearly 20 years, her last appearance being the final TNG feature film, Nemesis. And perhaps even more incredibly, this episode features Robert Beltran returning to the role of Chakotay after 21 years in his last appearance in the Voyager finale, Endgame. So, take that. What did Lower Decks get? Tom Paris. Fart noise. We got all these legends back on the show. What did you think? What did you think about the episode, Kobayashi?
I really liked it. I felt like I still am like wishing that they didn't have the like mid-season break, because I feel like if this had aired the week after the 5th episode, that it would have felt a lot better. But then like coming back to it, like after watching half season of Disco, it was a little jarring. But I really, really liked it. I thought it was so sweet. They used all the archived audio. I thought it was a really good like one-off Love a Holodeck episode, but then you have a little bit of the development and the bombshell of Chakotay at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really good. What about you?
I thought it was cute, which is I'm not trying to damn it with faint praise. I totally felt, you mentioned like the break. I could feel the show, it just bam, literally starts again. And I didn't see like a last time on. I don't know if I just fast forwarded through it or if they had one.
No,
or not.
there because I didn't
there
hit
wasn't
skip
one.
on the
Okay.
intro because
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they're gonna tell me what happened, and then they tell me what happened, and I was like, you trust me more than I do.
Yeah, but I could feel the show going, okay, hit the ground, like no time has passed, and they get right into it. And you're right. It's like I hadn't thought about that. It is like a holodeck episode, in the way that often holodeck episodes are, like on TNG, for instance, are fun larks. Yeah, okay, Moriarty says he's going to blow up the ship, but he's not going to. It's not a big deal. And they kind of are a chance to have a little fun. But this was like, went directly towards character, and specifically the character of Dahl, and him learning about what a Starfleet captain is really like. Wow. But when I think about what they did to make this episode, and like all the way you have to write the script to meet all these clips that you've pulled from all these shows, it's just a huge undertaking. And it's cute. Like I think it's cute. I don't hate it, but I just think as an editor myself, I think about like, oh my God, all the work that must have gone into that. But I did think like fans are gonna shit themselves, right? Like they're just like, the people love the references on Lower Decks, and it's almost like Prodigy went, oh, you got some references there? Okay, well, watch this. And then they just put this entire episode together, which is like 51% just audio from other episodes. Yeah. So I salute its accomplishment, but I would have rather had like a regular episode where Dahl for somehow in a similar way like learns about being a captain, or giving the opportunity to the actors who have been cast in these roles. Like if it featured Ethan Peck as Spock, if it featured the actress who's been cast as Uhura, as playing Uhura, and trying to sort of onboard these new versions of the characters. I think that would have been a good idea as well. So, it's quite an accomplishment, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I'm Mr. Grumpy. I don't like things like this.
And I knew I watched it. Well, what happened is, I don't normally go on Star Trek Twitter, or whatever on Wednesday nights and Thursdays, because I don't watch the episodes until Thursday evening.
Yeah.
But today I was like, I remembered, I was like, oh, it's Prodigy today. Like I need to Google. I wonder how long it is, because I didn't want them to jump me with like a 45-minute episode or something and not have planned like my evening around it.
Yeah.
And I Googled, and I was like, I won't see any big spoiler. It's just Prodigy. And I Googled it, and it was like, how the Star Trek Prodigy episode with Spock and Odo came together. And I was like, what direction are we go? Where am I? What is happening?
Yeah.
So I wonder if I would have been like even more surprised had I known like nothing, and pleased. You know what I mean?
I knew a little bit. I was on Twitter right before I watched the episode, and I saw that Star Trek Picard was trending, and I thought, oh, I better look at that, and saw the story, of course. And I also saw that Spock was trending, and I went, do I even bother to click on that? I have a feeling that that's something that has to do with Prodigy, so I'll just skip that. And then, of course, he was on the show. It's neat. Like, for those, it's weird because we think about like a show like Lower Decks does move forward the canon of Star Trek and is giving us new adventures, but it is really like a nostalgia machine. It's designed as fan service, for longtime fans of Star Trek, and it's interesting that this. What they chose to do with Prodigy was do something like that. Like this reminds me of like Trials and Tribulations or something like that. It's something where they're trying to build a new episode that is heavily referential and is really only going to pay off for fans who know the Trouble with Tribbles and old Star Trek. But at the same time, they're trying to what do those characters mean to Dahl? Like nothing, right? Like they're who's this Jay Kirk guy? No, pass on that one. Let's do something else. And so it's fun for us, but it doesn't. Does it really mean anything like for him? And the answer is like, I guess who cares? But I like the fact that he he kept, this is, I heard another friend of mine was complaining about how, like, didn't Discovery just do a Kobayashi Maru episode? It's like, yeah, well, it's a Starfleet thing. But also Lower Decks did an episode where Boimler ran the Borg simulation over and over and over again, trying to get his percentage to be a certain amount. And I wondered, do these writing teams like talk to each other? Are they coming up with these things in parallel, or are they like elements that they're trying to reinforce in their various scripts? To have like a connection and parity like between their shows. Because it's interesting that I have a theory that if you just took a 29-year-old Hollywood writer who grew up watching TNG like we all did, and just give me your 5 pitches, those 5 pitches are going to be very similar to another 29-year-old writer, and it's going to be person does a holodeck scenario, but they keep trying to do it and get it right, but then they learn that the real lesson is, that it's about like how you countenance failure or something. Because we kind of got that with both Dahl and Boimler.
Yeah, I mean, I guess here's the thing, right? Is like, I don't know the numbers, but in theory, Prodigy has like 2 general parts to its audience, which is like, number one, young kids who've like never seen Star Trek, and number 2, then like us who love Star Trek and we're going to watch every episode of like every show.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a smart way to like ride that line, right? Because we're going to enjoy seeing, not only are we going to enjoy seeing these characters on screen, but like be pleasantly surprised by like hearing Leonard Nimoy's voice in this Star Trek show. But then also it kind of provided this opportunity for the kids who've never seen Leonard Nimoy in Star Trek to still get that like hit of like the captain learning from him.
Yeah.
So I thought it was kind of nice. I do see, I couldn't quite decide as I was watching it, like if I thought it was like a tactic, like very smart of them, or if they were like, people will love this and so we'll make it, which maybe in its own way is smart, but I don't know, I mean.
Yeah. I honestly, I wouldn't, I'm just asking open-ended questions. Like, I wouldn't assign like a nefarious intent. I just think that, we've got this thing now where, when DS9 and Voyager are on at the same time, you knew that like DS9 would be deep in its long-running plot about the Cardassian occupation, and Voyager would be turning into salamanders or doing weird stuff like they do on Voyager, and so there wouldn't be any overlap. But we've got like essentially three shows running at the same time now, and I don't know if this is I'm just curious if this is just the natural overlap you get in sci-fi storytelling, or if they're want to do this on purpose to try to, like you said, have a continuity like in terms of theme and what they present in these shows. Because like, if I was like the editor of like a sci-fi anthology and I got two time travel stories, I'd be like, well, let's put one time travel story in. I wouldn't try to have 2 stories that are very similar. But I don't know if they're looking at it from that perspective. You mentioned audience, and I think this is really interesting, and we can actually use your degree for this, because as a media studies person, there's an intended audience, but there's an audience that is watching. You know what I mean? And you talk about like the intended audience and like, is this for kids? Nominally, it's for kids, but I know parents are making their kids watch, or just watching along with their kids, the other Trek shows, right? So like Discovery might be for a slightly older audience, but I'm sure kids are sitting down to watch that. So yeah, it's got to be really tough to. I don't envy the people who make Prodigy and they have to decide like what's a Prodigy idea, or is this, something that we would be no problem for Trek? Is this too intense for kids, or how do we keep from talking down to kids? I think that they have done a very good job so far on Prodigy of making it, a Trekkie adventure without having to talk down to people. And you get fun stuff like you get Murph. Like if you ever come up with like a dumb joke, you just give a fun bit to Murph. Murph eats some grenades. We're scared that Murph's gonna blow up. Turns out Murph's fine, and then a little fart, and then great. Go back to the kid learning how to lose in the holodeck. Oh, I was a little worried that he was playing the game at the beginning of the episode. Like, is there a regular version of the game and then the Katarian mind control version of the game, or are all games mind control versions of the game?
Unclear.
Yeah, I mean, we need to worry about that a little bit, but yeah, that was obviously a little reference. That was kind of cool.
So are we getting a new progeny from our what is it? Our diviner?
That's what
scene?
it seemed to suggest, didn't it?
Yeah.
And
but
I don't know.
He's kind of saw Gwen.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was like just a memory or a vision, or if the new progeny will be another Gwen, like a evil twin type situation. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for like a creepy, like a, like a baby in one of those in like the same device that he's floating in.
Yeah,
like a Borg baby,
smaller,
just floating there, wires in it. Yeah,
smaller tank.
Yeah,
she'll go around in it.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, that was weird, and I can't remember if they have talked about the Order before, but we hear about the Order, which I thought was interesting, and they would be upset if there was another progeny created, but they're going through with it anyway. So we're getting these little snatches of what the story is. Speaking of which, we get something of a reveal. It's more of a surprise, and hopefully they'll fill in the details later. But we find out that Chakotay was the captain. He's the captain of the Protostar initially, and so now where's Chakotay, and where is his crew?
No place good.
Yeah, I guess not.
Weird to be the captain of the ship where your like bestie is the holographic. Like, what would she have even been with Chakotay's crew? You know what I mean, Janeway?
Yeah.
Because when Janeway was in the little like projection, I was like, oh, that's real Janeway, right? And we're with hologram Janeway now.
Oh,
but then it seemed like it was the same. It was holographic Janeway was the same character.
Yeah, it's a little confusing because we're seeing him as a hologram, but I think that was also hologram Janeway. It'd be weird to have a ship and then have your Alexa hologram be your former captain, possibly girlfriend. Yeah, we don't know.
A little.
Yeah, that would be odd and strange, but that seems to be the situation that we have here, as the Protostar has traveled 4,000 light years, crossing apparently from the Delta Quadrant to the Gamma Quadrant. So, having an episode where we basically have some actors who won't be able to be in Star Trek anymore for various reasons, and one or two who are back. I'm wondering where that's going to stop now. Are they going to fly to Dominion occupied territory? Are they going to take the route that everybody said that Voyager always should have taken, which was go to the Bajoran wormhole in the Gamma Quadrant and then take that back through to the Alpha Quadrant? Will they run into
we're gonna
changelings?
Yeah, it seems like they're going to go to Starfleet somehow, because he learned his whole lesson about listening to his crew.
Yeah,
so
that's
I think
true.
Probably he's barring any space hijinks, maybe next week.
He's going to do,
which is exciting.
What everybody else wants to do. I know that Salome Jens, who played the female changeling, is with us still. She did some voice work for Star Trek Online, so we could have a female changeling.
Oh, interesting.
They should. I'm glad that we got a chance to hear Renee's voice again, and they dedicated this episode to him. But we should get like a who's the guy that took over for Hugo Weaving as the Red Skull? We need an Odo sound-alike, and then maybe we could have like Odo appear.
I mean, I would like that. I think I'm open to pretty much anything. I I was impressed by this episode because I didn't feel like it was like a cheap shot at us, being nostalgic about the characters. I feel like it was fun, even though it was a little bit like, oh, we're really kind of squeezing these lines in here from what you had in the bank, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It'd be fun. I'm
Well,
excited. I think I'm more excited about Prodigy now than I was at the beginning of the season, which is I wish they had just let it go through the whole season because I feel like it started and ended, and I was like, okay, now I'm going back to the show that like back to the Star Trek, right? But
yeah, that's true. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like Prodigy needs to really lean heavily on its connection to other Star Treks. I mean, that's like one of the things that I was looking forward to about the series is that it was a new take on the universe, and just to maintain my like grumpy but affable uncle persona.
of course,
I'm against
essential.
I'm against nostalgia in general, but if you're going to do nostalgia, I would much rather have them think really hard about what they want to do and then assemble all these clips together in this, Frankenstein scene that is an ad hoc version of the Kobayashi Maru than just putting like Spock 2's skeleton in the background of a scene and then going, it's a reference. Spock 2's dead, everybody. We're crawling around in his rib cage.
I will say though, if I was working on a brand new, spanking new Star Trek show, I think that from the jump I'd be like, when are we doing the Kobayashi Maru episode? Like when is it
I always
happening?
have to have one of those. Yeah.
Like I just I can't even be like, oh, we just did this, in every other Star Trek because I'm like, here we go, like it's time.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. If I was the whatever generation of the Kobayashis is around right now, I'd be looking for conversation from Paramount on this. Jack Sowards is just looking for a name for his test in his draft for Star Trek II, and he's like, my neighbor's name is Mr. Kobayashi, so we're putting that in there. Little did they know that they would continue to go to the Kobayashi well so often in Star Trek. But yeah, got to give them something. Special thanks.
That is a fun tidbit for playing like Two Truths and a Lie for that family.
Yeah, sure.
To the right audience, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, I'm the Kobayashi from Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah, and the name of our family was used as an unwinnable test in the world of Star Trek. Which one is it? Yeah. What else is going? Oh yeah, of course it has to be a Galaxy class ship because why not? Anything else you can think of? Comments about this episode, Kobayashi?
I don't think so. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to next week. How many more episodes do we have now of the show? Do you know?
Well, there's 5 more in this block, and then there's 10 more past that. Yeah,
10 more.
There's 20 total. Yeah, so this is the second quarter of the quadrant, if you will, of their first season.
Wait, they're taking another. They're going to break again for.
I guess. Hey, we're in the uncharted territories here. Oh, that's Farscape. We are. We're in the Delta Quadrant here. We don't know.
Interesting. Okay, I hadn't put those puzzle pieces together myself, which is why it's essential that we do this every week. But interesting tactic. Why not just air it? It's a Nickelodeon show, right? Why not just air it? Why not just continually?
I can't. I don't want to idly speculate. I have no idea. Because that was always the plan. But clearly, okay, I'm going to speculate. I think that they want, it's tough to launch a brand new streaming network. And so you want to make sure people think of you as the one-stop shop for whatever. So why,
what it is?
Why fractionate your brand that much? Plus, you just merged with Nickelodeon, and so now you can just say, no, we're going to do that over here instead of over there. That's what I think.
If CBS Paramount, if you're listening, this is a joke. We're haha funny on this podcast. No, everybody, cut the cameras. But if you have Star Trek year round, the other grumpy Star Trek uncles will stop cutting their subscriptions for half the year and re-upping when Star Trek is back on.
Yeah, but that's a real this Golden Goose is looking real bad. It's on life support. Do you know what I mean? It's one thing to have 13 episodes, maybe take a 2-week break, and then you can, I don't know, do the math, get 15 months out of them. or 15 weeks out of them. But it's like people are either going to want to watch this stuff or not. And so like just having like, no, we have to have 52 shows a year. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, how much
I
can you
felt
squeeze
like
out of this?
today I saw this thing, and I don't even know if it's true. I think I saw like a TikTok. So I might just be, this might be complete nonsense. I saw a TikTok with like of a tweet that was like, oh, the CW is like, they're looking to sell the CW and the rights to the CW shows.
Yeah.
And I felt like I could just see in my future, like having to sit through like Supernatural trailers while I'm just trying to watch Star Trek. Like I was like, I don't want to go back. And I, you know, Dino.
I mean, there's
no shade, but I was like, I feel like the CW. I watched the CW. You know, I was a big Supernatural fan for a very long time, and then I just saw that it was up for sale, and I was like, please, Paramount, I can't do it again. I can't re-enter my Supernatural phase, please.
Yeah. I was kind of just grazing through an article about that before, and they're looking to sell the majority share in it, so it's still going to operate. But as far as like, you know, who has control of the distribution and what platform their content ends up on, you know, we don't know. The CW is broadcast mainly still, right? They do have online offerings, but it isn't concentrated like Paramount Plus or Apple Plus.
Well, exactly.
And so, so they are some of the last meat left for the taking. So, who knows? Maybe we'll get Winchester's the meat crew of the Discovery.
Please, no. Please, hearing you say Winchester's really sent me back.
Who can say? The shuttlecraft with the Kansas license plate comes burning.
Stop! I literally was about to be like, I shouldn't talk so much smack when I have my signed license plate from when I was 16 up on my wall now in my apartment at 24.
Yeah.
Lots of good memories.
I did like when Dal. I hope people like Dal, and I hope that this episode. I feel like the people who don't like him, and there are people who don't like him. This episode is not going to make them like him, but I did think it was a fun episode for him.
I've never found him to be particularly unlikable. Like he's definitely kind of like almost like a snotty little kid. Like he is, you know.
Yeah, it's the kind of character
he's a kid.
Yeah, he's a kid. Yeah.
So I don't find him to be obnoxious in the way, and I feel like other people were like, "Oh, he just decided he was the captain." And I was like, "Yeah, it's a fun kids show.
Yeah,
someone has to decide they're the captain, otherwise they're going to argue all the time."
Right. Yeah. Like what is it that you hate exactly? You hate a character that's too capable and has all the skills and knows exactly what they're doing, and you also hate a character who has no clue what he's doing and isn't worthy to be there.
You hate a driven leader.
Which is it? Yeah. Is it what color they are? Is that what it is? Maybe that's what it is. But I did like when he's
is
like,
it the
all
little
right.
rat tail?
Yeah, which I never thought about it before, but I always thought it was hair. That's like part of him. He has like a tail on the back of his head.
It's not hair.
I just discovered that tonight. I thought that was really weird. But I liked when he's finally like, let's do this. And then that like kind of like AC/DC kind of clone song starts playing.
That was very fun.
You get over there. You do this. You do this.
I was really hyped.
Kobe.
They really got me with that one. Kobe.
Yeah. All right, I think we covered it. We always wonder how we're going to squeeze 45 minutes out of this, and we never have any problems. So never doubt yourself. That's the answer. But that's it. Great episode. Thumbs up from both of us. And I think that's it for our show this week. Thanks for joining us, listeners. And if you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTPod to get updates, get notified when new episodes of both Enterprising Individuals and this show, Discoverage, are released. You can tweet to us on the show by using the hashtag Discoverage or email us at EISTPod@gmail.com. Also, while you're on the internet, why not head to your listening platform of choice and subscribe to the show feed. Give us a rating and a review because it really helps us out. If you want to help the show grow, stop by our Patreon page at patreon.com/EISTPOD. And as always, if you like the show, tell a friend. Discoverage will return on January 13th for the 7th episode of Star Trek Prodigy's first season, and we don't know anything about the episode. If I had to speculate, I bet it's going to be a flashback or a holographic thing where we see Chakotay and his crew and we find out the history of the protostar. But who knows? We'll be here next Thursday to cover it. We'll be going live once again at 8 p.m. Central, so join us then. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook at EISTPod to get notified when we're live and broadcasting. And in the meantime, check out our main show, Enterprising Individuals, at enterprisingindividuals.com. startrekindividuals.com. Every Wednesday on the show, I and a special guest discuss in excruciating detail a selected episode from a Star Trek series. We also have news from the Star Trek sphere and interviews with special guests, and the show is currently on hiatus, but you can access all 6 seasons, all 6 years of the episodes that we have done at enterprisingindividuals.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And our year-end recap holiday show just came out last week, so you can check that out for a look back at year 6 of the Enterprising Individuals podcast. Ella, thanks as always for joining me to talk about tonight's episode of Prodigy, and remind people where they can find you online.
Thank you. My home podcast is called Generations Geek, which I do with my dad, and you can find us at Generations Geek on all social media and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Awesome. And you can find me at KA1IBAN on Twitter. You can find all the shows on the Just Enough Trope Network at Just Enough Trope on Twitter. And that is it for us. Thanks for listening, and we are signing off. This is Aaron for Ella saying, live long and prosper.